All right, so once again, I just want to welcome everyone to our SoCal CCIM Growing Your Brokerage Business During a Pandemic. We all know this is a unique time, and we definitely want to welcome everyone who's participated and who's helped put this event on, and we're very excited about what we have stored for you. And so I just want to give some information in regards to CCIM, and I want to share CCIM's mission statement, which is the mission of the CCIM Institute is to elevate our members to the highest levels of success in the commercial real estate profession. And during this time of COVID, I mean, that's exactly what we're trying to do. I believe in education, I believe in information, at the same time of the unity. And the better that we are able to unite during this time, the better off that we're all going to be to make sure that we're all pulling through this together. And so, also want to give some recognition to our board members, with their insight. We were quick to move everything over virtually. We have a lot of information that we've been growing within our chapter and our organization. And so this is being recorded. We have a YouTube channel where we are putting together a nice group of content, that everyone's able to see and to share. And so during this presentation, when we open up the chat, or at least when I'm able to see the chat, I'll go ahead and put that YouTube link on there. So if anyone wants to go back and see this recording along with any other recordings we've done, we'll be able to see there. So again, want to recognize and thank our board. Also want to give recognition and a big thank you to each of our sponsors. There's no way that we can do what we do without our sponsors. And so just like every lunch and learn, we want to give the opportunity to have our sponsors to come in and talk a little bit as to what they're doing, give them some additional exposure. And we want to thank them for everything that they've done and give them support as much as they've been supporting us. And so also want to recognize we do have a new sponsor, Small Business Finance, coming in as a platinum sponsor, and I just want to thank them so much. And we have Daniel Munoz here that is with Small Business Finance that would like to share a little bit more information about his business. Daniel?
Hi, good morning, everybody. Can you guys hear me now?
We hear you, yes.
Okay, perfect. Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Daniel Munoz. I'm with CDC Small Business Finance. We are a certified development company that specializes in SBA 504 lending and also other avenues of working capital lending on the SBA 7A side and community advantage lending as well. I have my two other partners, I believe, have joined on, Mark Hogan and Andrew Erickson. The three of us combined, we cover the Orange County and Inland Empire market. As a certified development company, we work with third-party lenders, either direct lenders or bank lenders on the commercial real estate side and equipment side of it as well. And we are here just to, utilize our platform as well to try and give as much exposure to our partners that are in the commercial real estate industry. And we are just here to be a source of information for you guys in the sense that if there's any questions in regards to SBA financing on commercial real estate, we're here to help.
Wonderful. Mark, are you online?
I'm online. Can you hear me?
We hear you. Yes, sir.
Okay. Again, named Mark Hogan, working with Daniel in the Orange County office. I've been doing this for about 20 years. I was actually a commercial real estate broker before with CB Richard Ellis for 15 years, then worked for a bank, and now here representing CDC Small Business Finance, the #1 CDC in the nation. And I think what we bring to the table, in addition to just creative ways of structuring deals, right now, people aren't sure which way they're going. We're seeing more refinances. With the rates being right now at 2.75, it's an amazing time for borrowers to be able to refinance properties when they're trying to cut down expenses. So we're here whenever you're looking to structure a loan, because it isn't so much about cash flow as it is eligibility. Feel free to call Daniel, myself, Andrew, if you have any questions when you come across a borrower. We do a lot of pre-qualifications. I know people love to get going and find a building and do all that, but quite often they don't have the means to purchase it, and that's where we become available. So we're just another resource, another team member. If you need to go with you, actually we're not going to meetings, I guess on a Zoom call or whatever it is to pre-qualify borrowers, whatever we can do to assist you, to make you more money, that's what our job is. So thank you for this introduction. We look forward to doing more business with you.
Thank you for your support, Mark. And we also have Andrew Erickson with Small Business Finance. Andrew?
Not there.
Okay. Andrew?
No.
Okay. I see you. Okay, we'll come back to you, Andrew. Want to recognize CoStar Group, Mr. Kim Tran. Kim.
Where was John?
Kim?
John Baker.
All right. Dino Champagne, Asset Preservation.
Hi, Gary. Hi, everyone on the call. Asset Preservation, we're a national 1031 qualified intermediary. As a company, we have been facilitating exchanges nationwide. We have done over 190,000 exchanges. I've been with Asset Preservation for 18 years, and I was laughing as Mark was talking about his resume. I used to be a commercial broker, was that for over 14 years, and I also spent time in the banking industry. Clearly, we parted ways, Mark, when you went into finance and you went into giving money, I went into holding money. We're here to assist through the exchange process. Happy to help anyone with questions and or facilitate the exchange.
Wonderful. And Dino, you've been a wonderful asset and partner to our group, and want to thank you for all your support for SoCal CCIM. And Mr. Kim Tran, looks like you're good to go.
Okay, guys. Hey, thanks for having us again, Gary. A lot of things happening. I'm sure you guys have all heard by now about our 10X acquisition. I don't know what that's going to look like moving forward yet. So when I do, I will definitely let the group know how that integration is going to be working with CoStar and LoopNet. Also, we're seeing quite a bit of activity on LoopNet now. So what that means is customers are currently searching, tenants are searching, investors are searching. Definitely more this month than last month, and that's continuing to grow. So hopefully that's indicative of future deal volume for all of you. We do also have updated COVID-19 impact news on the CoStar homepage for you CoStar subscribers. And then if anybody has any questions about how to do anything in CoStar, how to find any data, please reach out to me. We also have been updating LoopNet as well. So if you have any advertising questions on your listings, want to know how much exposure you need on your listing to get to the top of the stack, definitely reach out to me. I'll put my, if there's a chat, I'll put my contact information. If not, just go to the homepage for CCIM and click on the link and it should get to me. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, Kim, I can tell you, and I know there's a lot of questions regarding that acquisition with 10X, and so yeah, I would love to hear a little bit more as how it could definitely benefit us brokers and us in the commercial real estate world, and that's an exciting purchase there. So congratulations.
Yep.
All right, Mr. John Baker.
Good morning, everybody.
John Baker Law Group.
I'm John Baker. I'm a real estate attorney, and I do both the negotiations and litigation and transactional work. I put the documents together. Right now, I'm involved in a lot of workout matters. So if you have issues between your tenant and your landlord, or your borrower and your lender, or your buyer and your seller, I can definitely help work out that situation and get you a better result. Appreciate it if you give me a call. John Baker, Baker Law Group. That's 949-450-0444. Thanks, Gary.
And that's yeah. Thank you, John. You've been very helpful and given us a lot of suggestions and advice during this time. And so, and this goes for you, John, along with everyone else, all our other sponsors. And so, if you would please put your information in the chat so we all know how to get in touch with you. And so that'd be great. So let's go to Coast Escrow. Kip Kennedy.
Am I on the air?
You're on the air, sir.
Wow, I can't believe I figured this out. Hey, everybody. Good morning. And Dino Chardonnay, it was a personal shout out to you. Just want to let you know that, we've continued to work we're on kind of a social distancing crew in there. It's mainly Brenda, Mary Jane, Trish, and our receptionist, but we're open, we're doing business, and whatever we can assist our CCIM group and other people with in terms of any escrow questions, or if you need to open an escrow, or if you have any, any problems or anything that we can jump in and help you, we're happy to do it. We do ask that if you do plan to come by the office, to give us a call ahead of time, practice your social distancing, wear your mask, your gloves, your wetsuit, whatever it is they're doing every week. And that's really about it. We're working, so if you need us, call us.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kip. Thank you for all everything that you do for us. And so you've been a great help. So thank you so much. And so let's go to Earl McCoubrey with Fidelity Bancorp Funding. Earl.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you fine. Thank you, Earl.
Oh, great. Earl McCoubrey, commercial real estate mortgage loan officer with Fidelity Bancorp Funding. And so we're the ones who do the financing on investment properties like apartment buildings and office buildings and warehouse buildings, industrial buildings, things like those. And also the owner-occupied buildings, the business buildings. So we're lending and we're closing deals. Things are definitely different now than they were before the whole pandemic started, but we're still closing deals, and we're looking for more opportunities to help brokers close deals, purchase deals. So Earl McCoubrey from Fidelity Bancorp Funding. Thanks very much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Earl. And also want to give recognition to AAR CRE along with Platinum Wealth Group. I don't see anyone on the line that is here. I know definitely activity has been picking up in the marketplace, at least it feels that way. But also want to give recognition to them and thank each of our sponsors. And there's no way we could do the things that we do without our sponsors. And so if anyone has any questions, all of our sponsors are open for business. And let's get an opportunity to give them a chance to establish that relationship, and let's support them as they have been supporting our chapter. And so again, thank you to all of our sponsors. And so also want to let everyone know if you have an interest in becoming a sponsor or becoming a member, all you've got to do is go to our website, socalccim.com. All the information is on there, and it talks a little bit more about sponsorship and membership. And so just want to encourage everyone to partake. Also want to talk about our next event that we'll be having on Tuesday, where it's a virtual roundtable that we've been co-hosting with NorCal CCIM. The topic is going to be about technology for your business. And certainly technology has been something that we've all had to rely on during this time. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about technology. And so again, if you haven't received an email from us, by going to our website is an area that you could register. And so, and with that, I'd like to again welcome everyone to growing your business or growing your brokerage business during the pandemic. And we have a special moderator today, Mr. William Hugerin with Asheville Associates. Willie doesn't know this, but he's been a mentor of mine for many years, and he's definitely given me a lot of insight and additional information that's helped me personally and with my business. And so I can't think of a better moderator than Willie. But Willie, why don't you go ahead and take over from here? Hold on, Willie. You're on mute. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you.
Thank you for joining us all. I'm going to introduce Jim Gillespie, our featured speaker today. Jim Gillespie has over 35 years of experience in commercial real estate. He is the founder and creator of coaching for the commercial real estate industry. He's been a successful agent, manager, and he's been the president of 3 different commercial real estate companies, including the AAR Commercial Real Estate Association, the predominant association for commercial real estate brokers in Southern California. Jim has been published in, interviewed by, and written about in the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, Money Magazine, Realty Times, Broker Agent News, where he's been recognized as being their editorial contributor of the year. the California Real Estate Journal, First for Women magazine, Commercial Investment Real Estate magazine, and the SIOR Professional Report. In addition, Jim has published his Amazon #1 bestseller book titled Commercial Real Estate Power Brokers, Interviews with the Best in the Business. Since 1998, Jim has focused full-time on coaching and training commercial real estate agents, and his more than 1,000 articles and 70 instructional videos that he's published within the industry have now been read and watched by tens of thousands of commercial brokers. Jim is a personal friend who I've known for many years. I think he will provide valuable information for today's market. The format of today's meeting is I'm going to be interviewing Jim. I'm going to be asking questions, and he's going to respond. And then at the end, we're going to have a Q&A, and this is an opportunity for you to ask questions. Jim is very knowledgeable. Being a past broker has helped him being a good coach. Jim, thank you for joining us. We look forward to this interview.
Thank you, Willie.
Okay, I'm going to start off with the first question. Tell us what you've been hearing from commercial real estate brokers about the impact the coronavirus has been having on their markets.
Well, it's been interesting just seeing the evolution of this. In the beginning, when we started doing the quarantining 45 to 60 days ago, it was the feeling of like, what do we do now after the nuclear bomb has exploded and we've got this fallout to deal with? And everybody's been trying to scramble and figure out, what does this all mean? What does it mean for right now? What does it mean for the months and years ahead? So it's just interesting observing this whole situation. There are people, and Willie, you and I have talked about this, that are setting up crowdfunding right now to raise money from investors because they see good investment opportunities coming our way. But the really good news right now is so many brokers I'm talking to, their principals are telling them, hey, let's get out, let's start looking at buildings. They're doing tours, they're writing offers. So the really good news is things are in a better position, at least in terms of interest in doing activity right now, than they were, let's say, 30 to 60 days ago.
Thank you. How do brokers need to shift what they're doing right now in order to trying to build solid relationships with their people?
I would say one of the first things is, and especially when you're doing prospecting, for example, because with everything that's happening, you can't exactly go door knocking and walk in on people like before. But if you're prospecting people, connect with them. Don't make it a traditional type of prospecting call. Call somebody up and say, Stan, with everything that's going on, I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing. How's everything going with you? And let Stan talk to you and tell you what's going on. Then Stan, you can talk to him and say, what are you projecting for you and your company and everything months down the road? Let him tell you whatever he sees, because as a salesperson, you want to be much better at listening, unlike so many other salespeople that feel that they need to be talking all the time. And then as you're getting towards the end of the conversation, you could just say, well, Stan, with everything you've told me right now, you see yourself pretty much standing pat with your real estate needs, or do you see you potentially making some moves? And that, I think, is a good format from beginning to end, without trying to dive in and get too much to the issue of, are they looking to do something right now? You build some rapport, you show them that they care, you ask their opinion on how they see this all playing out, and then you ask a question phrased like the one that I just phrased to you as you're getting towards the end of the conversation.
Thank you. What type of people and companies do you believe will be most impacted from everything what's going on right now?
I think pretty much everybody's going to be impacted in some way, but obviously restaurants and retail, I mean, they're having a horrible situation right now. The hospitality industry, the cruise industry, the hotel industry. Can you imagine people right now even wondering about staying in a hotel when they're able to again, wondering who's just moved out and what did they possibly have within their bodies when they moved out? Who's going to want to go on cruises in situations like that? But restaurants, I mean, we're talking about, even when we get back to being able to go to restaurants, still having social distancing. Office space, they're talking about people at work still needing to do social distancing. So what is this going to mean in terms of how much office space do we need versus how many people can we have work at home? There's going to be an entire dynamic that's shifting here And how long is the social distancing still going to need to remain in place versus eventually down the road having it no longer be necessary? I just think so many different aspects of real estate and people's lives are going to be impacted for still quite some time to come right now.
I heard that, believe it or not, the cruise lines are really starting to book a lot of cruises, which I find difficult to believe. I can't imagine too many people wanting to be on a cruise today or in the near future, but apparently they're booking.
I guess maybe they're thinking they can get a great price right now if they book.
Yeah. Where do you see opportunities emerging for commercial real estate brokers with everything that's been going on?
And that's an interesting question, because throughout the entire time of this quarantine, my opinion on that has been shifting. So let's look at the potentiality for investments, because generally speaking, me and many other people have been thinking, well, great investment opportunities are going to arise. But as things are shifting and how this is playing out, especially with this assembly bill that's going through the state of California right now, I believe, let me have a note, AB 939. This is a bill where basically what they are proposing to do is through the end of December 2021 to allow commercial tenants to no longer need to pay rent in their space, and it possibly go beyond that, and owners not being able to evict them during that time. And then at the end, they may be liable for at the maximum 3 months of rent during that entire time. So I'm looking at this going, holy cow. I mean, I have to believe other states are going to look at this and say, what do we need to do also? But you're talking about the potentiality of properties being in a frozen situation where nobody can go out, nobody can go in, you can't sign a new lease. Who's going to want to buy it on a user basis because they can't occupy the property? Who's going to want to buy it on an investor basis because there's no rent being paid right now? And that is a really, really interesting situation, because, you know, in lieu of that, you know, owners and tenants could work on something. Maybe a tenant would say, okay, we can't make it, we're going out of business, and the building would be vacant. But something like this, now the tenant has an incentive to stick around through the end of December 2021 and maybe at the most be liable for 3 months rent when they get there. That can potentially throw a big monkey wrench in the opportunity to do transactions, both leases and sale transactions.
What's interesting about that Senate bill is they're not making any concessions for the lenders. I mean, the borrowers still have to pay mortgages, but there's no incentive there. That can't be. You can't have it that way.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of foreclosures and people losing their shirts.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just, I'm sure that the different sectors are going to have to get involved, you know, such as banking. How can owners be expected to make their loan payments if there's legislation in place saying that the tenants don't need to pay rent? And if there's one thing we know about legislation, that's the bankers are always going to be protected and bailed out. So we know that they're not going to end up on the short end of the stick.
The other thing that's kind of interesting is all loan docs have provisions in there that landlords cannot just modify leases without the lender's approval. And I don't know how that's going to play out. And that's going to be attorneys' fun day in court.
Oh, yeah. And who knows how legislation may come into play around that too. We just don't know. There's so many variables as this entire situation evolves, because, you know, here we are just in the early stages of it economically. And the deeper that we get into this with the restaurant closures, the retail closures, the businesses never reopening again, people being out of work for longer periods of time, what's going to happen when they're 3, 6, 9 months into this and they still haven't gotten employment and they're really hurting? It's just going to be very interesting.
Do you see opportunities for brokers to building relationships with other people working in lender REO departments and with receivers too?
Yes, I do, definitely. And there's probably going to be a mad dash for brokers to do that, because I'm guessing with the REO people and the receivers, things have been relatively quiet until this hit, because let's face it, we pretty much been in good times for the most part. But with this whole shift happening, brokers are going to go, well, wait a second, you know, properties may be going back to the banks. We better start talking to the people who are going to be the decision makers. So I will expect that they will start trying to figure out who those people are and find out ways to contact them, because in some situations, these people will be the ones determining which brokers get the listings on these properties that are coming back to the lenders.
I'd like to make a couple comments on that. I used to be an asset manager for CalFed and Citicorp, and I used to get bombarded by people looking for REO product. And asset managers only have so much time in a day, and they get so many phone calls and emails, they can't respond to them all. And brokers get real frustrated with asset managers for not being able to get a hold of them. And the asset manager usually will return phone calls and emails to people they know or have networked with. And CCIM is a good opportunity because there's a lot of asset managers that have CCIM and SIR designations that to network with them and get to know them. You know, people want to do business with people they know, people they like. So yes, I think these asset managers and these banks and institutions are going to get bombarded, and it's going to be hard for brokers to access them without an existing relationship. I just wanted to provide that.
Yeah. I know you came from that side. Yes.
How do you see this current economic downturn playing out when compared to the last one, which became known as the Great Recession?
I want to be direct and truthful here, because I find that it's very difficult for people to trust real estate economists and regular economists, because if they're getting paid their salary by people who want to hear good news, then they get worried about telling them anything other than that. And I remember before the Great Recession, a couple of major real estate economists were saying that this is all overblown, the idea that the housing market could be overpriced and there's going to be a crash. And I, do research constantly, and I researched something that the Royal Bank of Scotland said 3 months before the whole financial collapse in 2008, saying that the US stock market's going to tank in 3 months. And I reported on that to all my readers, and I don't have to worry about who's paying me or anything like that. You got to be really careful, because I'm seeing these economists saying, oh, we expect everything will be going swimmingly in the months ahead, or it'll be a very quick down and up V-type recession. And I'm thinking, any downturn that we've seen in our lifetimes did not start like this. It didn't have all these business closures, people worried about going out in public again, people who may be unemployed for long periods of time. It sort of started and went gradually down to the trough and then up again. And with it kicking off like this, I am really, really concerned about how bad this could get. But in many ways, the faster it gets bad, that could create more opportunities for brokers in terms of people needing to do something quicker. But my one concern around that is the legislation that may come into play, like the one we just talked about in California, where if that freezes all situations with buildings through the end of 2021, that could really make things interesting for brokers trying to find opportunities to do transactions.
There's a lot of talk about, interest rates are down right now, and there's also discussions from economists saying that interest rates are going to drop to the low twos and mid twos. And the challenge I'm seeing is lenders are getting more difficult to deal with. They have higher requirements. They want bigger down payments, higher FICO scores. They want more security. It's not easy to get a loan today. They're being very cautious, as they should be. But it's a challenge. So, we're hearing that there's going to be opportunities, low interest rates, but getting the money is not going to be easy to obtain.
Absolutely. Let me just mention that for a second. So when you have a situation where people have been able to buy properties for 30% down, and that changes and goes to 50% down, now you've eliminated a lot of potential buyers who are having trouble coming up with that cash, or they're scared of putting that much of a percentage of a down payment down. And now you're getting narrowed down to a much smaller group of buyers, and the people with all cash can do much, much better than the others because they're not reliant on that financing. And as a result, with fewer buyers in place and needing to come up with all cash, the prices need to adjust downward for that situation. And that's when people make their best investments, when they got all cash and they can pay, and the other buyers who need financing are just cleared out of the way and saying, we can't do this right now.
When it comes to negotiating rent deferments and workouts on leases, do you recommend that brokers do this for free, or do you recommend that they charge for this work? Also, if they're going to charge, how do they come up with the price?
And that's an interesting question. And this is more of a philosophical discussion according to how each broker feels it should be done. Because let's face it, commercial real estate owners are used to brokers doing things for free and they get paid when the transaction closes. This is a very unique situation right now that's unprecedented in our lifetimes. And I heard one other broker when I was interviewing saying, he goes, hey, as far as I'm concerned, if they went to an attorney to do it, he'd probably charge them at least $2,500. So if I do it for $500 to $1,000, that's a good thing, you know, as far as saving money in the owner's pocket. But if you do it for free, I would ideally want to orchestrate this in a way where it's very, very clear that the owner intends to bring you future brokerage business, you know, out of the kindness for what you're doing right now, as opposed to doing the work for free and them just feeling, well, what do I care? I can hire any broker in the future. And I'm glad that this person is willing to do it for free and I'll take the free labor. So you just got to be careful. Just find an appropriate way to word it with the owner. Say something like, you know, Dale, more than happy to do this. I know we're in tough times and I know you're in a tough situation with your tenants right now. I'm happy to roll up my sleeves doing the work, but I just want to know, based upon our relationship, that your intention is to bring me your future brokerage business when there's more transactions to be done. Is this the way you see it too? Something like that.
It's all about building relationship and rapport.
Absolutely. And working with the right owners who realize that they do want to give you business down the road.
True. What's going to differentiate the broker who does solid business in the coming months from the other brokers who won't be doing solid business?
I would say one key thing, especially when I see, again, this California legislation, is really paying attention to what's going on and any changes being made legislatively or otherwise, and understanding what that now means in terms of where the opportunities are and how they're shifting, and be able to run there faster than the other brokers. Because there's going to be new shifts and changes going on, and you have to pay attention to them and realize, what does this now mean in terms of the shift and where these opportunities are? Who are the players and people that I now need to go after? And what is my approach in talking to them to land the business that's going to be going down with these people who are interested in engaging in transactions?
Okay. Overall, what do you think is important for commercial brokers to recognize when it comes to building solid relationships with their clients and prospects?
So in this context, let's talk in terms of when we're transitioning back towards going into the office and showing properties, you know, closer to normal again. And you really need to stand out from your brokerage competitors, because the great thing about commercial real estate brokerage, if you want to be outstanding, is there are so many things that most commercial brokers don't do. They sort of get stuck into this routine. They look around the office and they say, well, if nobody else is doing this, then why do I have to do this? But ideally, you want to be the salesperson that you wish was selling you something. I'm sitting here thinking, like, you know, my entire life up until now, maybe no more than 5 salespeople that I've encountered selling me something that I thought, wow, this was really a great experience. I would like to refer them to my friends and business associates. Be that type of salesperson. Be committed to providing the best amount of service for these people, finding out what's best for them and delivering it, letting them know that what you stand for at all times is providing them the best service and what they need, far above and beyond you needing to get paid a commission. Because so many brokers come from the place of, well, I got to try to close this person. I got to try to accelerate their movement towards closing on a transaction. And your people are going to feel that, and they're not going to like it. You don't like it when salespeople try to close you like that. But what happens? You don't open your mouth and say, hey, I don't like you trying to close me like that. That's what your people are doing to you when you try to push them forward and close them like that. And it doesn't feel good, and they'd actually prefer to work with someone else. So don't be that person. The crazy thing is when you care about people and serve their best interests at all times, they want to work with you much more, because your competitors aren't doing that. And you'll be like a breath of fresh air, and they'll actually want to refer you to their friends and business associates. So be that person that you wish was selling to you, and more people are going to line up to choose you as the broker they're going to want to work with.
Recently, I've been on several showings where I'm representing a tenant and the listing broker just doesn't show up. I'm surprised. I mean, you need to service your client and your listings. It's not, I always try to show up at all my listings, all the appointments, even if it's procuring broker to bring in the tenant to the property.
Absolutely.
How much repeat business do you think brokers can obtain from people if they become outstanding at building solid long-term relationships with them?
A lot. And that's unfortunately one of the things that in our industry is not taught. I mean, usually when brokers get into our business, Willie, they're told, hey, here's the desk, here's the phone, start dialing people. And if you were meant to be successful in this business, you'll find a way. I'm busy myself as your manager. But if you think I got 5 minutes at the end of the day to ask me a question, go ahead and try to do so. I mean, there's just so much available for you if you do what it takes, okay? If you're willing to do whatever it takes to make it happen. And again, it all comes down to serving your people, standing out. You know, mailing is something that on the residential side of the business, they understand very, very well. But in commercial, most brokers are looking around the office going, well, if nobody else is mailing, then why do I have to mail myself? It brands yourself in people's minds, mail in once or twice a month to them, and it'll be hard for them to think of anybody else to work with. When you do that, they'll remember you when you call them on the prospecting calls, and you will have top of mind presence in their minds. Right now, video is a huge opportunity. I mean, I did my first video in commercial real estate in 2003. And I've been wondering, when are other brokers going to start doing this, basically? And now is a huge opportunity. I just published a video that one of my coaching clients did where he interviewed an attorney on what owners need to know about their leases right now and in negotiating rent reductions with their tenants. And the attorney offered a free consultation at the end. And this is the kind of place you want to go because it's easy and you start getting more face-to-face time with your people without needing to be there. And you sort of start to stand out as a celebrity with your own video program, and people will remember you more compared to the other brokers who've just decided, I don't have time to do this.
You know, it's really sad. People don't get our business, but our business is a people relationship business. And you got to establish relationships with people. And until you do that, you're not going to get the business.
You're right.
You know, waiting for the phone to call doesn't work.
You're someone who's outstanding at building relationships with people. You know, we've talked about this over the years. You know, you're all about service with your people, and you get referrals and you get leads coming to you where you never expected it because what you stand for above and beyond everything else is providing outstanding service to your clients.
Thank you. Why do you think it is so many brokers close transactions with clients and then completely drop off the communication with them?
You know, this is a biggie because you close a transaction, you figure, okay, if it's a lease, they're not going to need me for 3, 5, 10 years. If it's a sale, well, they don't need me for anything else right now. So there's no immediate transaction in the foreseeable future that I can engage in with these people. So they drop out all communication. What happens is your competitors begin prospecting them in their new location or as a result of buying this investment property. The competitors are prospecting them regularly, building better relationships with them. Your client hasn't heard from you in years, and now they're tighter with these other brokers, and you're sort of outside the situation. You need to be calling your people just like regular prospecting calls that you're doing with all your other prospects. Check in with them, see how they're doing. Ask if there's anything that you can do to assist them, because sometimes you'll be shocked that they need a bigger location, that they've decided to sell this building, that they want to buy something else, because you've made the assumption that they're not going to need you for a specific period of time, and things change. So be prospecting them throughout the year, and it's more of a warm call where you're checking in with them. They'll love to hear from you, and it's an easier call, and you just never know when something may pop up, and it's a great situation to ask for referrals. You get towards the end of the call, and you go, Steve, you know, I loved working with you on that transaction. Would love to work with more people just like you. So my question to you is, who do you know who may be looking to buy, sell, or lease? It's a perfect opportunity right as you're getting towards the end of the call. And Steve's mind opens up and goes, oh, my friend Bill over here that we buy paper from, he said things are getting kind of tight in his building, so why don't you give him a call? You call Bill, say, Bill, hey, Steve, who I put in this building over here, told me to call you that you need to expand maybe. Oh, you know him? Oh, we've done business together for 15 years. You come into that new relationship, even though you never knew the prospect, you come in with the credibility of the person he's known for 15 years who just referred you. And that is a huge way to come in as compared to a total cold call where they don't know you from anybody and you have no connection to them.
To elaborate on what you said, you know, out of sight, out of mind, if you're not in contact with people, they're going to forget about you.
Absolutely.
Another thing that happens to most businesses do not stay stagnant in their size of their space. They either grow and expand and need more space or other locations, or they need to downsize or right size. In either case, we're here to service these clients, and they need our services in all cases.
Absolutely. And with everything that's going on right now, things can change really quickly. So you never know when somebody who 30 days ago thought that they didn't need to do anything, now or in the next 30 days, their mind has been changed around that.
In this market, there are some businesses and industries that are flourishing and are doing very well. You know, grocery stores, for example, they're crushing it. They're not even advertising their weekly throwaway newspapers anymore. They're just so busy.
Yes.
What can brokers expect to happen when they drop out of communication with their past clients like this?
Sure. I mean, what's going to happen is as a broker, you're going to be leading a constantly having to bird dog new prospects existence. If you're in the business for 10, 20, 30 years, and you continually stay in contact with your past clients and build that relationship so that you're there when they need their next transaction, now your business is a result of great ongoing business from past relationships and past transactions, as well as who you're prospecting that you've never done business with before. And that's a much better place to be playing the game than constantly trying to find new people you've never worked with. And Willie, you and I did an interview together last week for my people, and you mentioned to me and to everybody that 90% of your brokerage business is now from past client transactions and referrals. And that's where so many brokers really want to be playing the game, but you got to be willing to build and nurture those past relationships and ideally become their broker for life, which is what you are for so many people. And I admire you for it.
Thank you. What should brokers be doing instead to begin building long-term relationships with clients they've already closed transactions with?
There was someone that was a coaching client of mine, a long-term veteran years ago, and he said, Jim, my goal is every day, Monday through Friday, to have lunch with somebody. You know, somebody, a client prospect. Obviously, it's a little bit more difficult right now, but you know that time will be returning once again. You know, think of, you know, make sure that in your contact management software that you're following up with everybody you've ever closed a transaction with. Call them up on the phone. Be mailing to them ideally, have them on your email list, do the type of videos that I was talking about. You know, in videos, you can, in addition to interviewing an attorney, you could do an economic forecast person on how they see all this playing out. Interview the top investors, developers in the area, the mayor or city council person, a lender. And not only that, when your clients and prospects see you doing these interviews with these important people, you start to be associated in your clients and prospects' minds with these important people, and it elevates your status in the minds of your clients and prospects because you're hanging with these people and they're willing to give you their time, which makes you feel much more like the type of broker that your clients and prospects should be working with, as opposed to so many other brokers who are playing the game from purely cold calling, never talked to the person before. I need a transaction, you need to work with me. And so many brokers are coming from that place. But between following up with your past clients on the phone, doing things like lunches and socializing with them, give them gifts. I mean, with your past clients, let's say they need another transaction every 5 years. If you give them, let's say, a $50 gift, let's say 3 times a year, and let's say that your average commission is $20,000 per transaction. So they need a transaction every 5 years, $50 gift 3 times a year, that's $150. Over 5 years, that's $750. Now you want this to be a genuine, heartfelt gift to these people, showing them that you care. But I would say $750 over 5 years is a pretty good insurance policy over them feeling that they should be and want to be working with you on their next $20,000 commission transaction. It's very, very difficult for somebody to be receiving gifts like that over a period of years and then suddenly turn and work with one of your competitors instead. So between that and doing the mailing that I talked about earlier, I think this is a really wonderful approach to help ensure that you're going to be getting constant repeat business because you're building great relationships and remaining top of mind with your clients and prospects.
Jim, we have a few more questions to go, and then we'll open up to question and answers. How soon after a broker closes a transaction with a client should they begin contacting them again?
I would contact them within weeks just to check in and see, especially if they're occupying the building, if they just moved, to see how things are going for them in the new location. Is everything working out? You know, how you feeling in the new place? Just kind of a wonderful, touchy-feely, I care about you follow-up call. So a matter of time within the weeks. But what I would recommend doing in every single situation, when you close a deal where somebody's moving into a building, or even if it's an investment, have a celebratory lunch sometime soon after the closing where you sit down with them and you pick up the tab, because I know so many brokers like to sit and wait for the other person to pick up the tab. But you pick up the tab, and then as you're getting close to the end of the conversation, say something similar to what I said earlier in the call. You know, Bob, I loved working with you on this deal. Would love to work with more people just like you. So who do you know who may be looking to buy, sell, or lease? That's the perfect situation and timing, especially with you picking up the check, to have them go through their contact management system in their mind and think of who they know that they can refer you to. And then during the year, again, call them as you would other prospects multiple times per year just to check in, see how they're doing. And you just never know when they might have a need or they've got a referral for you.
Why do you think so many brokers are so short-sighted about spending money to market and position themselves, and they consider doing this as being either an unnecessary expense or something they don't want to spend their money on?
Well, there's a couple of different reasons. Number one is they don't see other brokers in their office doing it. And this is a huge opportunity for you. I mentioned the ratio of, giving $350 gifts a year versus the potential payoff with the commission. I mean, it's a great, great investment. And brokers usually, come into business without having owned businesses, and they don't understand the concept of spending money to make money. And they see this as only cash coming out of their wallet or their bank account, and they don't visualize the long-term benefit of great business coming in as a result of it. And you need to really, really understand this. Someone who's a top broker that I've coached, Scott LaMontagne out of Austin, Texas. He's been with Marcus and Millichap and JLL. I coached him on this, and he owned a business previously, and he really understood the idea of spending money to make money. And he got to the point where he was sending out 250,000 pieces of mail a year to his clients and prospects. And he told me a young broker came to him who had managerial responsibility for and said, do you have any recommendation? Because I'm trying to go after the same kind of business you are. Scott said, I asked him, do you mail at all? And he goes, no. He said, you need to understand something. I'm sending 250,000 pieces of mail a year to the exact same people that you're trying to do business with. So if you're not mailing, it's like you're bringing a BB gun to a nuclear war. And you need to understand the huge impact that mailing will have if you embrace it.
Okay, Jim, we're down to 3 questions, and then we'll open up the Q&A. What's the biggest mistake that you've seen brokers making when trying to develop new business?
There's actually a couple of them, because in reality, most brokers rely almost exclusively on prospecting to get new business for themselves, and then they're not getting their prospecting done. So if you're relying on just one avenue to do it, and you're not getting your prospecting done, can you see that we have a problem here, basically? But what I would do in terms of the larger picture is say, how can I stand out and be exceptional and clearly be the best choice that my clients and prospects could ever make in a commercial real estate broker? And it comes down to putting together a number of the things that we've talked about. Number one, recognize and identify who is the ideal salesperson that you would like selling to you. What are their qualities, their personality traits, their characteristics, and be that person. Be that person to your clients and prospects, and it will be like a huge breath of fresh air. Get your prospecting done. Make sure you're working on and have the right scripting for your prospecting. Do mailings on a regular basis. And so many brokers do things like, well, I sent out one postcard and I didn't get any business from it. And I say, well, what if somebody came into brokerage and said, well, I heard prospecting is really effective, but I prospected for 2 weeks and I didn't close any deals. So clearly it doesn't work. You need to understand how to do the right kind of mailing. That's the kind of things that I teach my people to do, basically. Don't ever send out mailers where lender or title company says, well, if we can put both of ourselves on there, we'll pay for it. No, it's like putting an ad for selling apples in a Cadillac in the same commercial. Spend the money, make it all about you. Make it focused on building a presence in their minds that you are their ideal consultant or advisor. And then do things like the videos that I'm talking about. You can really build tremendous presence in people's minds by showing them that you're the expert in videos and interviewing top people. And you could do something like a monthly or a quarterly market update report, 2 to 4 minute video, basically saying, okay, so here's the results from the first quarter. Here's the major transactions that have gone down in our marketplace. This is what I'm observing in the price per square foot right now. And with all of this being said, this is what I'm projecting that's going to go down in our marketplace within the next 6 months. Everybody wants to hear from the expert who has the crystal ball, okay? Everybody wants to know where somebody thinks the future is headed, and you can basically take that position, and they want you to take that position in their minds.
Okay, good. What differentiates top producing brokers from all the other brokers within our industry?
In reality, the top producing brokers want it more than anybody else does. They are determined to do whatever it takes to be the best in the business and make outrageous money. And they're willing to learn and change and do whatever is necessary to make that happen. And that's basically the bottom line right there. There are going to be some brokers who have more natural skill sets than other brokers. But if you're determined, you can work on changing yourself and mastering those skill sets. And even if you may not have those skill sets coming out of the gate, so many top brokers still aren't doing video. They're still not doing mailing to their people. You can basically occupy that space and start doing that stuff, and you will begin to rise up very quickly in people's minds because your competitors, even if they're top brokers, aren't really doing much of any of that stuff.
Okay, my last question.
Drum roll.
For the brokers who are having a tough time right now growing their business, what advice do you have to give them?
Sure. And the first thing is to recognize that if you're having a tough time, and granted, this is a different time right now, but let's just talk about under more normal circumstances, because we're all keeping our fingers crossed and hoping that things will be improving in the months ahead. But recognize that your routine that you've fallen into is not a good one for producing the results that you want. So you need to make change. When you get into this business, you start to fall into a routine, and that becomes what you're repeating constantly over and over again on autopilot. So you need to change something about that, and maybe a number of things about that, because your competitors who are closing more deals than you have a better routine. And are you prospecting enough people and finding the leads? Do you have the presentation skills that are getting owners to say yes to listing with you over your competitors? Because if they're listing with your competitors instead of you, there's something going on from the moment you first identify them as a prospect all the way up through you asking for the listing that is having your competitors look better than you. So you need to analyze what all of that is. And when it comes to your presentation skills, in terms of your listing presentation, for example, go into the conference room and sit down with somebody who can role play as the owner of the property and go through your listing presentation, video it, and then leave the video running, ask the person who's role playing with you how you did and ask them for any feedback. And then go and watch that presentation, see how you think you did, see how you can improve it basically, and incorporate the feedback that the person who was role playing with you gave, and then work on that, and 90 days later do it again to see how you improved, and keep working on that, because otherwise you may be doing things in your presentation that you're unconscious are actually repelling business away from you, and you want to bring it into your conscious mind so you have the ability to make the change and deliver much more effective presentations.
Thank you. I noticed one question came up. Do we anticipate seeing more RAPs or AITDs in this market coming up?
Boy, that's an interesting question. AITDs, all-inclusive trust deeds. There's so many, I would have to say, generally speaking, yes, as compared to how it's been in recent years, just because with the availability of good financing in recent years, it hasn't really been necessary. The interest rates have been good. The lenders have been willing to grant loans. So I could see that basically being an option to do things where maybe you can't get the traditional loan that you want. And then there's going to be questions about the documentation of any existing loans and whether that AITD will call the underlying loan to be due. And that's something that you're going to need to look at before you would get into negotiating something like that.
Okay. Gary, I think you're trying to patch in Earl.
Yeah, Earl had a question. So Earl?
I guess it's more like a comment. I surely do appreciate this discussion, and looking for ways to get more brokers involved in more deals. And I know an awful lot of clients rely on a broker and also a CPA and also also an attorney as part of their team and figuring out their projects, their acquisitions, and the things they're doing. I just request that also a lender be brought to the table too, to be a part of the team, because so often the phone rings with somebody who's trying to do something. They've made all kinds of great plans and makes all kinds of sense, but it's very tough or sometimes impossible to finance. And so I really do wish that as clients are making their plans and figuring things out, that somebody from the lending community be a part of that team to help make sure that the final plan that is come up with is financeable, especially right now in this day and age. So it certainly is true that some lenders have just walked away and said, call us back when the pandemic is over, but there's still quite a few remaining, but the requirements are higher and the way they want to do things is different. And so that would be my comment. Please allow the lending industry to be part of the planning and the structuring of transactions that clients want to do. Thank you.
Gary, do we have any other questions?
I don't see any other questions, but I do have a poll here. And you touched on a lot of things, Jim, as far as what people are currently doing right now. And so unity is really what we want to bring. And the more we're able to share information and be able to unite, and the better off that we're all going to be. And so I opened up a little poll question here as far as what are some new activities people are doing today or have increased during this time, this past couple of months, to try to position themselves best in the marketplace. And so this is a multiple choice question. And so if you find yourself doing more than one activity at this time, you can certainly, click as many on there as you are, I guess, doing more of or have increased. And so I think it'd be interesting to see what other people are doing at this time. And, to kind of touch on what you're talking about, Jim. And, there's certain things that we should be doing to get out there and let's see what everybody's doing at this time. So I'm going to close this poll out in 5 seconds, and I'm going to go ahead and share the results. So go ahead and get your questions or your answers in, but I want to close it out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. End the polling. Show the results. All right. So certainly social media is something that people have been turning to more often, with number 2, email marketing. Behind that, virtual tours and postcards are the same. And so Jim, is social media that avenue that people should be turning to? Is that something that should be part of the whole repertoire, or what should we be doing?
I think it's something that should be included along with everything else that you're doing. Generally speaking, the people who like to get more involved in social media are the younger people in our industry. I mean, people in their 20s and 30s. You just have to pay attention to, number one, are the people who you want to do business with spending time on social media and accessible to you? And number two, is this really working to bring you the amount of business that you want to? Right now, things are different right now, and social media may be more important as we speak right now than it had been before, because people are spending more time on social media. You can't walk in and see them in their place of business or anything like that. Right now, with respect to even mailing postcards, if you're mailing it to people's offices, are they even there right now to get your postcards? And will they finally see it when they got a stack of 300 mailers to go through when they get back to the office? I think social media has a place. I think as the decades go on, it will become more and more important, as people who love social media in their 20s and 30s will become the decision makers in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. And it'll be a standard and expected and the normal mode of communication among decision makers when they get to that point.
And we have another question here, and I'm going to add a second part to this question. The question that's coming in is, what should title reps be doing to help support brokers right now? And to add on top of that, what should those looking to become part of the profession should be doing right now?
And that's, I would say one of the best things is ask them what you could do for them, because I don't know if I could come up with any magic answer to that right now. But I mean, title reps and title insurance are obviously a very important part of the business. But I would basically ask them. I would, something that I've suggested to people, because we're in a crazy time right now, is since you can't do face-to-face meetings with people in person, maybe you do a Zoom lunch with them where you have food delivered and you eat lunch with your client or your prospect over the phone with the Zoom meeting. Maybe as a title rep, you say, hey, I got this idea. Would you be interested in taking your people to a virtual lunch? And I'll arrange for the food to come into both your locations, et cetera, et cetera. And if the title rep has a budget, maybe you pay for that for certain brokers. But I would basically just ask and see what you can possibly do, because we're all limited in many ways and it has to be done virtually or on the phone. But it's a very good question.
I love to eat, Jim, and I would take up on that offer anytime.
Let me just mention regarding eating, okay? One of my clients, and he sent this to me and it's phenomenal. When he closes transactions with people, he will send them live Maine lobster, and it arrives and they open up the styrofoam container and the lobsters are really, numbed because they're in the cold ice environment, and their pinchers are wrapped up and, so that they can't pinch you. But when the people take them out and put them on the counter or something, they start crawling around and coming alive. And it's just an amazing wow factor with people. It's like, oh my gosh, we got live lobster. And when he said it to me, and my daughter years ago at the time was probably like 7 to 9 years old, and oh my gosh, these are live. Oh, don't tell me you're going to boil them. Don't tell me we're going to eat them. And then after we had the meal, she goes, wow, that was great. When can we have lobster again?
That's beautiful. Jim, you have any closing remarks, anything that you'd like to say in closing here?
Well, you got to keep looking in this market right now. Where are things changing and transitioning to, and try to be out ahead of it. If I can ever help you out, let me know. Obviously, I do one-on-one coaching and a lot of interviews with top brokers. My website is commercialrealestatecoach.com. If you go to my homepage and you sign up for my e-newsletter, where I typically will send out a tip a week or a video on how to improve your business, if you sign up on the pop-up window there, you will receive what I think is a wonderful 90-minute interview that I did with a top broker, Scott LaMontagne, who I mentioned earlier, talking about how you ideally want to structure and run your brokerage business from the top down to maximize your income. And this is somebody who flies around in airplanes and drives in limousines to appointments. He's very successful, and it will give you a great snapshot, ideally, of what you want to move your business towards. And then you can start taking that action step by step.
Well, wonderful, Jim. Thank you so much for all your time. And what I did in the chat, I went ahead and put your website that you just mentioned right now. And so Just want to thank you so much for your time and for everything that you've done for not only us today, but what you do for the industry. I know a lot of us brokers, look up to you and are always wondering what you have to say, and you've helped so many of us in the brokerage industry. Give us the opportunity to make this career a better career for ourselves and for our families. And so Jim, I want to thank you for that.
One more thing, because as Willie mentioned, I wrote an Amazon #1 best-selling book, Commercial Real Estate Power Brokers, Interviews with the Best in the Business. 5 interviews, including one with Willie in the book. And anybody who's interested in that, if you go to commercialbrokerbook.com, that will forward you on to the Amazon page directly for the book if you may be interested.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Jim. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and close out the meeting here. And just thank you so much for your time. And again, as a reminder to everybody, this recording is going to be on our YouTube channel. And so if I did put it up on the link, and so or on the chat. And so if anyone has any interest, and again, in SoCal CCIM, you want to see a recording of today's event, this is, just let us know, reach out to us. You probably got an email from myself or from SoCalCCIM@yahoo.com. That goes to our administrator that we help filter as well. And so with that, I just want to thank you, Jim. Thank you so much for your time. Willie, thank you so much for your time. Thank you everyone who's participated in this. This has been a wonderful event. I think in a crazy way, I've been enjoying this time a little bit. It's certainly a challenge, but it's been giving, I think, all of us the opportunity to really think outside the box and to create a new opportunity and new ventures for ourselves and for our clients. And so, Jim, thank you so much. Yes, sir.
Jim, I'd like to thank you also for doing this interview with me. It's, I think people are going to get some value out of it. Thank you again.
And thank you guys for putting this together. And I appreciate everybody listening to this, because you're the people who want to learn how to change and grow your business. So I congratulate you for taking the time to listen to something like what we've been doing here today.
Jim, thank you so much. Willie, thank you so much. And we'll see everybody soon. Thank you.
Bye.